Have you ever wondered what you'd do if your own mother chose your brother over you? Well, I found out in the worst way possible. My name is Olivia, and 2 years ago, my mother used my entire college fund, money my grandparents had saved for me, to give my younger brother a fairy tale wedding. Yes, you heard that right. My future for a three-tiered cake and a live band. I was always the responsible daughter, the one with perfect grades, the one who helped around the house. My brother Jason, well, he was always the family's Prince Charming. While I studied, he partied. While I saved, he spent. But even then, nothing prepared me for what happened at his wedding. What my mother didn't know was that I had a secret that was about to change everything. And when I landed my private jet at the local airport to attend Jason's wedding, I was ready to show everyone exactly what I had accomplished on my own. Growing up in suburban Connecticut, our family looked perfect from the outside. My father left when I was 8 and Jason was 6, but my mother, Karen, always made sure we had what we needed. At least, that's what I thought. She worked as a real estate agent, and while we weren't rich, we weren't struggling either. But there was always a clear favorite, and it wasn't me. Jason could do no wrong in her eyes. When he broke Mom's favorite vase playing baseball in the house, she laughed it off as boys will be boys. When I accidentally stained the carpet with nail polish, I was grounded for 2 weeks. This pattern continued throughout our childhood. Jason got the newest iPhone for Christmas. I got a refurbished laptop because you're more practical, honey. I remember my high school graduation clearly. I was valedictorian, had a full schedule of AP classes, and was accepted to MIT. My mom threw a small backyard barbecue, invited a few relatives, and gave me a card with $100. When Jason graduated 2 years later with barely passing grades and an acceptance to the state college, she rented out a restaurant, invited everyone she knew, and gifted him a used car. But the worst betrayal came during my senior year of college. I was struggling to pay tuition despite my scholarships. My grandmother had set aside a college fund for me years ago, about $45,000. I'd been carefully using it for tuition, books, and rent. One weekend, I came home to find Mom unusually excited. Jason had proposed to his girlfriend of 6 months, Brittany, whose father owned several car dealerships in New England. Mom saw this as Jason's ticket to a comfortable life. "We're planning the wedding for next summer at the Lakeview Country Club," she told me over dinner. "I've already put down the deposits." "That's expensive," I said, wondering how she could afford it. "Well, Jason deserves the best start in life," she replied. "I used the rest of your college fund. You're almost done anyway, and you're so smart, you can figure it out." I sat there, stunned. The remaining $30,000 of my fund, gone. When I confronted her about it being my grandparents' gift to me specifically, she dismissed me. "Family helps family, Olivia. Don't be so selfish. Jason needs this opportunity." That night, I called my grandmother, who was living in Arizona. She was furious when she heard what happened, but wasn't surprised. "Your mother always favored Jason," she said. "I'm sorry, sweetheart. I don't have much, but I want you to have this." She transferred $5,000 to my account, her retirement savings. "Don't tell your mother," she said. "Use it to build something for yourself." I dropped out of MIT with just 1 semester left. I couldn't afford to stay. But instead of giving up, I took my grandmother's money and my coding skills and started working on an app I'd been developing, a security platform that used AI to detect unusual patterns in financial transactions. I worked out of a tiny studio apartment, living on ramen and coffee, coding 18 hours a day. 6 months later, I sold my prototype to a major tech company for $1.2 million. I reinvested almost everything into expanding the technology, hired 2 other programmers I knew from MIT, and within a year, Our startup was valued at $15 million. I kept it all quiet. No social media posts, no family announcements. As far as my mother and Jason knew, I was just scraping by with freelance coding jobs. When the wedding invitation arrived in my mailbox, I almost threw it away. It was thick, cream cardstock with gold foil lettering, Jason and Brittany, a celebration of love. The venue was the Lakeview Country Club, the most expensive wedding venue in our county. I hadn't spoken to my mother in over a year, and my relationship with Jason had dwindled to occasional text messages on birthdays and holidays. A week before the wedding, my mother called. It was the first time I'd heard her voice since our fight about the college fund. "Olivia, are you coming to the wedding?" she asked. No hello, no how are you. "I'm not sure, Mom," I replied. "I've been busy with work." "What work? Those computer jobs? Jason really wants you there. And Brittany's father is very connected. He might be able to help you find something more stable." I felt my blood pressure rising. "I'm doing fine, Mom." "Well, if you do come, please wear something nice. Brittany's family is very sophisticated. Maybe you could borrow something? Oh, and the rehearsal dinner is black tie." After hanging up, I made a decision. I was going to attend that wedding, but on my terms. 2 days before the wedding, I flew from San Francisco to Hartford on my newly leased private jet. It wasn't the most financially responsible decision I'd ever made, but sometimes making a point costs money. I checked into the presidential suite at the Marriott downtown, the same hotel where most of the wedding guests were staying. That evening, I ran into Jason in the hotel lobby. He was with a group of his friends already celebrating. "Liv!" he exclaimed, genuinely surprised. "You made it!" He hugged me awkwardly. "We didn't think you'd come." "Wouldn't miss it," I said with a smile. "How'd you get here? Do you need a ride to the rehearsal dinner tomorrow?" "I'm all set, thanks." Cool, he nodded. "Hey, Mom said you've been having a rough time since dropping out. If you need help with the hotel or anything—" I cut him off. "I'm fine, Jason, really." The rehearsal dinner was at an upscale steakhouse. I arrived in a black designer dress I'd bought specifically for the occasion. My mother's eyes widened when she saw me. "Olivia, you look expensive. Where did you get that dress?" "I bought it," I said simply. "But how did you—" "I've been saving up," I interrupted. Throughout the dinner, I noticed my mother showing off Jason to Brittany's parents, the Andersons. "He's been offered a position at his future father-in-law's company," she boasted. "Such a bright future ahead." Mrs. Anderson turned to me. "And what do you do, Olivia?" Before I could answer, my mother jumped in. "Olivia's between things right now. She had to leave college, but she's very good with computers." "I run a tech startup," I corrected her. My mother laughed nervously. "Oh, she means she does freelance work. Olivia has always had big dreams." As the evening progressed, the tension grew. Jason's fiancée, Brittany, was showing off her 5-carat diamond ring to anyone who would look. "We're also getting a house as a wedding gift from my parents," she announced. 4 bedrooms, so we can start a family right away." My mother beamed. "And I'll be helping them with the down payment on a new car. It's important to support young couples when they're starting out." I nearly choked on my wine. "With what money, Mom?" She shot me a warning look. "Family helps family, Olivia." Later that night, Jason cornered me at the bar. "Look, I know you're upset about the college fund thing," he said, lowering his voice, "but Mom was just trying to give me a chance. You've always been the smart one. You'll be fine." "Did you ever consider giving the money back?" I asked, "or at least acknowledging it wasn't yours to take? Come on, Liv, it's just money. And look at all this." He gestured around at the opulent rehearsal dinner. "I'm marrying into the Anderson family. I'll pay you back someday." I smiled tightly. "Don't worry about it, Jason. The wedding looks beautiful. I'm sure it was worth every penny of my education." The day of the wedding arrived, a perfect June afternoon. The Lakeview Country Club was decorated with thousands of white roses, crystal chandeliers, and gold accents everywhere. I estimated the cost at well over $100,000. I wondered how much of my college fund went into those flower arrangements. I arrived early and took my seat on the bride's side. My mother had decided it would balance better if I sat there rather than with our small family contingent. As guests filtered in, I overheard snippets of conversation about the lavishness of the event. Karen must have spent a fortune on this wedding, one of my mother's friends whispered to another. I heard she emptied her retirement account, the other replied. But she says it's worth it to see Jason marry into the Anderson family. I gripped my program so tightly it crumpled. Not her retirement, my education. The ceremony was picture perfect. Jason looked genuinely happy, and despite everything, a part of me was glad for him. At the reception, however, things took a turn. The open bar had been flowing for an hour when my mother clinked her glass for a toast. "I want to thank everyone for coming to celebrate Jason and Brittany," she began, her voice thick with emotion. "As a single mother, I've always tried to give my children every opportunity. I've sacrificed everything to see them succeed." I felt my cheeks burning as she continued. "Jason has always been special, a boy who knew how to seize opportunities. When he met Brittany, I knew I had to do whatever it took to support this union. Some might call it excessive," she laughed, "but no sacrifice is too great for my son's happiness." Something snapped inside me. I stood up, champagne glass in hand. The room fell silent. "I'd like to make a toast too," I said, my voice surprisingly steady. "To sacrifices and opportunities." My mother's face froze in a panicked smile. 2 years ago, I was one semester away from graduating from MIT when I discovered my college fund, money my grandparents had specifically saved for my education, had been emptied to pay for this wedding. Gasps rippled through the room. Brittany's parents exchanged alarmed glances. I had to drop out. No degree, no savings, nothing. But that day I made a promise to myself that I would succeed anyway. And I have. I turned to Jason and Brittany. "I wish you both happiness. Your wedding is beautiful. It should be, considering it cost me my future." Or so I thought. I pulled out my phone and showed the screen to the nearby guests. It displayed a news article from the tech section of the Wall Street Journal with my photo and the headline, "Tech Guard Startup Valued at $30 million After Series A Funding." That's me. That little computer job Mom mentioned. It's now a cybersecurity company with 20 employees and contracts with 3 major banks. The private jet I flew in on yesterday? That's mine too. My mother stood up. "Olivia, that's enough. You're embarrassing yourself." "No, Mom. For once, I'm standing up for myself. You chose Jason over me at every turn. You stole my education to buy him a wedding. But in doing so, you forced me to bet on myself. And it turns out that was the best thing that could have happened." I raised my glass. "So thank you, Jason and Brittany, for your beautiful wedding. The irony is, if you just asked, I could have paid for it myself." I set down my champagne, grabbed my purse, and walked out of the reception hall. Behind me, I could hear the chaos erupting. Brittany's father demanding answers from my mother, Jason calling my name, guests murmuring in shock. As I reached the exit, I heard my mother's heels clicking rapidly behind me. "Olivia, stop right there." I turned to face her. Her makeup was smeared from tears. "How could you do this?" she hissed. "You've ruined Jason's wedding." "No, Mom. You ruined my future. The difference is,
I fixed mine. I walked out to the parking lot where my driver was waiting. As I slid into the back seat of the black Bentley, I saw Jason running after me, still in his tuxedo. "Liv, wait!" he called out. I asked the driver to stop. Jason leaned into the car window, his face flushed. Was all that true? The company? The jet? Everything? Every word. Why didn't you tell us? He looked genuinely confused. Would it have changed anything? Would Mom have apologized? Would you have offered to pay me back? He looked away, and I had my answer. "That's what I thought," I said quietly. "Mr. Anderson is furious," Jason said. "He's threatening to call off everything, the job, the house."
He says he doesn't want his daughter marrying into a family that steals from each other. For a moment, I felt a flicker of satisfaction, then guilt. That's between you and Brittany. It's not my problem. Can't you just tell them it was a misunderstanding? Please, Liv, I can't lose this opportunity. The irony wasn't lost on me. Always about opportunities with you, isn't it, Jason? I asked the driver to wait and stepped out of the car. I'm not going to lie for you, but I will talk to the Andersons if you want. Back inside, I found Brittany crying in a corner with her parents. My mother was nowhere to be seen. Mr. Anderson's face was tight with anger. "Miss Mitchell," he said formally when he saw me, "your family has some explaining to do." "I understand, Mr. Anderson," I replied, "but I'd like to clarify something. What happened with my college fund was between my mother and me. Jason didn't take the money himself, though he didn't refuse it either." Mrs. Anderson shook her head. "How could your mother do such a thing?" "She always believed Jason needed more help than I did. She was wrong, but her intentions came from a place of love, misguided as it was." I turned to Brittany. "I'm sorry for disrupting your wedding. My issue isn't with you." Brittany wiped her tears. "Did you really build a multi-million-dollar company?" I nodded. "That's actually incredible," she said. "I studied business at Dartmouth, before my dad decided I should focus on planning this wedding instead." Something shifted in that moment. I saw Brittany differently, not just as the princess bride, but as someone who might have her own dreams deferred. "If you're ever interested in getting back to business, my company is always looking for smart people," I said, surprising myself. 3 days later, I received a call from an unknown number. It was my grandmother. "I heard what happened at the wedding," she said. "Your cousin Mary told me everything. I'm proud of you, Olivia, not just for your success, but for standing up for yourself." "Thanks, Grandma. I couldn't have done it without your help." "Nonsense. That $5,000 was nothing compared to what you've built. But I do have some news. Your mother came to see me yesterday." My heart tightened. What did she want? To borrow money, of course. Jason's future in-laws pulled their support, and now she's scrambling to save face. I told her I'd already given my savings to you. A week passed. I returned to San Francisco and threw myself back into work. Then, one afternoon, my assistant told me my mother was in the lobby. I found her sitting stiffly on a modern sofa, looking out of place among the tech startup decor. She seemed smaller somehow, less imposing than I remembered. "This is quite a place," she said as I approached. "Very modern. What are you doing here, Mom?" She twisted her hands in her lap. "Jason and Brittany are still getting married. A smaller ceremony. The Andersons are paying, but they've set conditions. Jason has to work his way up in the company, no special treatment, and they want him to pay you back. I don't need his money. I know that now." She looked around at my office. "I had no idea, Olivia, about any of this. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have believed me, or would you have asked me to help Jason again?" She had no answer. "I want to make things right," she finally said. "I've put my house on the market. It's not worth much, but it should cover what I took from your fund. Keep your house, Mom. I don't want your money." "Then what do you want?" I considered the question carefully.
I want you to recognize what you did. Not just taking the money, but always choosing Jason over me.
Always assuming I would be fine because I was the smart one, while bending over backward to help him. Tears filled her eyes. I thought I was doing what was best. Jason needed more help. No, I interrupted. That's what you told yourself to justify playing favorites. Jason didn't need more help. You just wanted to give it to him. She was quiet for a long time. You're right, she finally admitted. I don't know why I did it. Maybe because he reminded me of your father, and I wanted to give him what I couldn't give your father. Or maybe because you were always so capable, and it was easier to focus on Jason's problems than to challenge you. I don't know, but I was wrong, and I'm sorry. It wasn't enough, not after everything, but it was a start. 2 months later, I received an unexpected email from Brittany. She had taken my offer seriously and wanted to know if I'd meet with her to discuss potential positions at my company. We met for coffee, and I was impressed by her business acumen and drive. Jason and I are working things out, she told me. The wedding was beautiful, by the way. Small, just family. Your mother came. She seemed different. Different how? Humbler. She brought a photo album of you as a kid, showed everyone your science fair projects and awards. She seemed really proud. I didn't know what to make of that. My phone buzzed with a text from my grandmother. Coming to SF next week. Found some old photos you might want. Love you. As I drove home that evening, I realized something important. Success hadn't just given me financial freedom, it had finally given me the power to redefine my family relationships on my own terms. I could choose who to let in, who to forgive, and when. For the first time in my life, I was the one in control of my story. It's been 2 years since that wedding day. My company is now valued at over $100 million, and we're expanding into international markets. Brittany runs our client relations department. Turns out she's brilliant at it. Jason and I have a cordial relationship, though we'll never be close. My mother and I speak once a month. She's still working on understanding what she did, but she's trying. The greatest lesson I've learned is that sometimes the worst betrayals can lead to the best opportunities, but only if you refuse to let other people's decisions define your worth. My college fund didn't just disappear, it transformed into the seed that grew my empire. So if you're watching this and someone has underestimated you, chosen someone else over you, or stolen your opportunity, use that pain. Let it fuel you. Success truly is the best revenge, but freedom is the real prize. And remember, sometimes the family you're born into isn't the family you end up with. My grandmother, who believed in me when no one else did, passed away last year. She left me a letter that said, "I always knew you'd fly higher than anyone expected." The company's charitable foundation now funds scholarships for young women in tech in her name. If you liked this story, hit subscribe to hear more about navigating family dynamics and building success against the odds. And drop a comment below if you've ever had to prove someone wrong about you. Remember, your story isn't over until you decide it is.